Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. I've talked a lot on the channel, even recently, there's a video not too far back about this phenomena of consumer. You know, we have to consume, you know, S-O-O-M-E-R. People just completely unaware, or unable rather, to say no to new content. They know the new content's subpar. They know that they're not going to receive good stories from these franchises or fandoms that they love, but they just can't not watch it. Oh, we got, and I've done videos about that. And this isn't the extent of this video. I've got more things to say about it. But on the videos I've done about that, people bend over backwards in the comment section just trying to reasonably justify, no, if we don't watch those, then we don't know how to sharpen our sense of what's good story and bad. I mean, just ridiculous logic. And I've noticed something, though, about the people that need to consume. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the people that need to consume the Star Wars Disney Plus content. And this is just an observation. It's not something that I'm asserting every single person, you know, who watches that content, this is the thing with them. No, it's just something I've seen a lot of, and it's a commonality that I've observed, which I think is too frequent to just be a coincidence. So let me be a little more specific what I'm talking about. The specific type of person I'm talking about is, you know, there's a it's actually kind of glorious to see it right now. There's that contingent of fans, of Star Wars fans, who believe this nonsense. Oh, there's a civil war in Lucasfilm, guys, and you know, Jon Favreau and Filoni, they're fighting for us, and they're the chosen ones. They're trying to, you know, give us the good content, but they're having to fight the Wicked Witch of the West, Kathleen Kennedy, and blah blah blah. And it's working, guys. It's working. Keep supporting the Filoniverse. You know, they had that whole narrative, which is pretty much proven to be ridiculous nonsense now. It was just YouTubers trying to get people to watch their channel. It's pretty much you know, everybody's kind of seeing through it now. And it's very vindicating to people like me who are calling BS the whole time. Because, you know, The Mandalorian came out, and really, you know, in 10 years from now, everybody's going to look back and realize how ridiculous Baby Yoda was. That happened at a time right there with I gotta watch the words I say for this so the video won't get shadow banned, but you know, the pandem thing that happened where people were having to stay at home, you know, people across the world losing jobs or not losing touch with family members, you know, who might be sick in the hospital or whatever, you know. It was a rough time for certain people, quite a bit. Other people's not as much or whatever, you know. It was just a very different thing. And that Mandalorian, you know, show happened at that moment. And not only did it happen where it's, you know, it's Jon Favreau, so, you know, it's going to be of a certain quality there. That brought people to it a bit. It's on streaming. They can access it from home. And then they got this stupid little Funko Pop of a character, Baby Yoda, Grogu, they call it eventually. Really, he's the fanny pack of our decade. I mean, we're going to look back in 10 years from now going, what were people thinking? Because people have gone diehard for that. I've seen people post Twitter memes or GIFs or whatever where like something bad happens to a Baby Yoda toy and people like descend upon them like, how dare you? Like I was telling Zondegraver, I'd never do it, but I'd really just like to buy a Baby Yoda toy and just like cut its ears off or dissect it on camera or whatever. Not because it would give me any pleasure, but just because to prove the point of how ridiculously psychological. It's not about good story. People don't love the Favreau Filoni Star Wars stuff because it's really good story and they're really doing it right, guys. Maybe you might have thought that with The Mandalorian, like season 1 or something. It's Favreau, so it's going to be of a certain quality of story, but you knew where that ended up, right? Favreau and Filoni are telling a Star Wars story that ends in the sequel trilogy. It ends in the New Order being, you know, created in Rey Skywalker, you know, Mary suing around and stuff like that. That's where that goes. And people, no, that's not what they're doing. They're actually gonna turn it around. They're gonna retcon that. All of these, you know, just lies that people were desperate to believe, desperate to push. What I've noted is there's a psychological need that a lot of people have. Again, not every single Star Wars fan, and by the specific Star Wars fan I'm talking about is people who didn't like the sequel trilogy, who stand against that nonsense, The Last Jedi nonsense, all of that. And people, those people who stand against that, but they're all for the Filoniverse. You know, they're all for Mandalorian, Boba Fett, you know, all these, this is the way, this is going to help us, this is great, you know. I'm seeing a certain psychological issue in these people. They're lonely. And again, I'm not speaking for each and every single person like that, but I'm seeing it. A lot of people have said to me, people who get mad at me for criticizing these shows, have told me, look, I desperately need this right now. I need this right now. How dare you stop me from enjoying it? Well, who's stopping you? I'm not going to your house, cutting off your Wi-Fi or something, stopping you from watching it, dare me to have an opinion and spout it on my channel. But they have that, I need this right now. And what does that say? It says, look, I just need to be able to celebrate this story right now. I just stop it with the criticism. Don't ask me to think critically or discern anything. I just need to celebrate this. And there's something, so I've heard that. That's one. I'll get to it in a second. But I've heard people going through hard times thinking, oh, it releases, it's tomorrow. It's just, I'm just going to lose myself in that goodness or whatever, because they're going through hard times. I've known people, one woman's a widow who tunes in and watches it and doesn't want to hear anything bad about it. There are people who, just stuck at home alone. They're lonely. They're going through some sort of hard time of any sort of varying degree. And they can't abide any critical talk of these shows. And they've even kind of worked it around in their own mind to where, to them, anybody who's critical of these shows are just so full of hate. Oh my gosh, they're so full of hate. They're so determined to tear these shows down. No one's just determined just to tear these shows down. We're applying the same level of critique and discernment to these shows that we've been doing to everything else. But this is the one little, cliff that they've decided to hang on to for dear life for mental health, purposes. And so they're going to feel it acutely when anybody criticizes it. And, so I've observed that with a lot of people individually. Again, of course, I can't say every single person like that, but I'm thinking about the time period where this all came about. As I just mentioned, The Mandalorian got its start in the pandemic thing, so people are suffering. Now see, I've mentioned before that, people had this idea where they say, oh, go woke, go broke. That doesn't work. That does not work. The companies, the publishing companies, the movie companies, the television, they've all shown us that they are more than willing to double down on a Batwoman. They are more than willing to double down on a Star Wars story. They're more than willing to double down on stuff that doesn't make a lick of money because it might include an agenda. The agenda is paramount for them, not the money. Now, that sounds stupid to us, right? Like, how can you stay afloat? That's not how business works. Well, yeah, but when Papa Disney's going to come in and bail out Marvel Comics, no matter what kind of garbage they continue to peddle, why should they worry about profit? That kind of thing is going on. The thing that happened in 2020, though, that really shook the roots of the system. And I've said this before, that we finally had a chance. Finally, if you wanted to see go broke, go woke, go broke, work, that was your chance. You finally had a chance to do that. All you had, because Hollywood was shaken to the core. I mean, theaters were closing. Hollywood's trying to figure out, Disney in particular, Disney, Star Wars, Lucasfilm, you had them still reeling from the complete and total just disinterest that people showed Solo, a Star Wars story, which was a result of the nonsense they did with Last Jedi in the Star Wars continuity and the way they treated the fans. It's your fault if you aren't, supporting The Last Jedi. Oh, you toxic fans, you toxic people who would dare criticize the Disney sequel trilogy, that backfired on them. So they're reeling from that. And then the 2020 issue thing happens where it just shakes Hollywood to the core. We truly had a chance then. If we could have said, no, we're not putting up with any of your content until you meet all of our demands. We're not going to just be happy with the little bone you throw us. We want you to change fundamentally, and then we'll come back and enjoy your stories. We could have said that, and we could have won, but people just couldn't handle it. There's a new viewer on my channel. He was actually on Sound Engraver's channel. He said, and he quoted it, Incarnate, I think is his name. He said, put it wonderfully. He said, we had the chance to squeeze. Instead, we said, more, please. And that's so true. That's exactly what people did, because they prioritized whatever level of suffering they were going through the pandemic. And hey, some of that's very real. Some people went through horrible stuff. My heart goes out to them. Nothing you go through emotionally or whatever, though, it gives you a pass just to logically demand that people stop reasoning. It's kind of like when I remember when the universal health care was being debated, during the Obama years and stuff like that. And personally, I'm not for that. But anybody that you would, talk to about that or just debate it, friendly conversation or whatever, inevitably somebody brought up their uncle or their aunt or this person that was a next door neighbor to their grandmother or whatever who died because they didn't have properly funded health care. How dare you speak against it? Well, that's nonsense, right? That's saying I have this emotional story which trumps all of your logic. My emotional story means you have to shut up now. That's what people are doing with Disney Star Wars when they have something, some emotional need, like they need this content. Why are people so filled with hate? They're if you talk to them individually, and I'm refraining from giving personal examples or whatever, but you talk to them individually, and they'll bring up this thing that happened to them or this thing that they're going through or whatever, and that's the reason why people just need this right now, and you need to stop with your critiques and blah blah blah. That kind of emotional vulnerability, investing that, this is what's so completely dangerous about it. They're invested that into a franchise. That kind of investment should only be given to your religion, to your faith, or if you're an atheist, to your your worldview in general or whatever. You can't look to a franchise alone to give you that kind of comfort and that kind of restorative power and energy. Now, it's very true. The whole point of my channel is that these stories are mythology, and we do draw inspiration from these stories to help us go on and live life and inspire us this way. Absolutely, but only if those stories are done right. Stories done wrong are actually harmful to society. When these stories are done poorly, and they're not really tapping into the hero's journey, and yet this is what society doubles down on and continues just to cling to, then it actually is harmful to society. And that's what we're seeing here. I'll end with this. It's an interesting place that people are at now, because if you look at that Favreau Filoniverse thing happening, okay, so The Mandalorian, like I said, story of a certain quality. Star Wars fans and people, who know the real deal and the real deal that Star Wars is supposed to be can certainly point out the problems with it and the nonsense with it. It wasn't golden, it wasn't epic, true storytelling, but it was of a certain quality. It's not like, riddled with the plot holes of The Last Jedi or something like that. So they doubled down on that. This is amazing. This is amazing. Then Book of Boba Fett came out, and that was really interesting, because Book of Boba Fett, it's just objectively bad storytelling. It is. There's no defending it. But people desperately tried. They made their videos, they did their tweets, they're desperate. They banded together in whatever little minority they could to say, this is really good storytelling, and you guys are just hate-filled, and you'll pick at anything. That was just objectively bad storytelling. The greater society is said that, right? The normies who have no interest in Star Wars, they'll watch The Mandalorian. They watch Boba Fett and they think, oh, this is kind of boring, and they don't finish it, right? That's a normie perspective, and that's where you can get a gauge that. So they were doubling down on that because they knew, well, there were some issues with Book of Boba Fett. Somewhere in their mind they knew Kenobi was going to save it all. They certainly aren't going to do that with Kenobi. They're certainly going to bring the big guns. Kenobi's going to be amazeballs. And it's just not. It's more of the same nonsense storytelling, convoluted plot holes, agenda, lots of agenda over the characters actually behaving as they should. I'm not going to do a point-by-point analysis of it, but it's ridiculous. It's wretched. Other YouTubers are doing great analyses of that. It's horrid. And I'm seeing some of these people, and it's sad. I mean, it's vindicating to me in a way, who's been pointing out the problems with this and being told to shut up, it's great. They're just kind of silent now that Kenobi's out. They're like, oh, I don't know what to say now. I can't just defend it like I did Boba Fett. But man, what am I going to do now? So they're kind of like, they're either silent or they're grasping at straws, or whatever. But it is sad, because when you put that much dependence on a story, on a franchise, when you're looking to a franchise for your mental health, that's not good. And it's gonna, especially in today's climate, it's gonna bite you in the butt. And then what are you left with? You should have been taking the solace of us true blue, fans of the true blue, Star Wars, the EU, and the original trilogy, and the spirit of it all, like us, just take solace in the old stuff and point out the problems of the new stuff. In a perfect world, if we could ever get new stuff, I don't think that could happen even today if they decided to expand the expanded universe and do more stories in it. They'd end up woke-filled nonsense just because of the way the industry is today. But you know, there's a way to just be happy with what you have. You don't need the current hashtag. You don't need the current community. So, interesting observation. Just wanted to throw that out there. I'll throw out more if I can think of it more and put more in line. But until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the True Blue hero stories.